We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Sunday, not a lot happening this weekend. A few things here and there that we'll talk about. Um, Kristen was going to be on today, but then something came up with her, and she'll be on Tuesday, I think. You remember Kristen? She was the young woman who was a producer of Real Housewives and some other programs too. Very perceptive, very intelligent young woman. I'm looking forward to having her back on the show. We'll have all the other regulars too. And if there's somebody new out there that wants to show up on the Rational Boomer podcast, you can do that easily enough. All you have to do is send me an email to rationalboomer@gmail.com. Say, hey, Mike, I'd like to come on the show. And then we'll work out the details. We'll get you on, and it's all pretty easy. You talk to anybody else who's ever been on the show, they will agree to that. All we do is come on and have a conversation. No rehearsals, no planning, no strategies. We just talk some shit for about an hour, hour and a half, and it seems to work. So that's what we'll continue to do. On this show, I didn't really have anything particularly planned other than some stories that are going on right now that we need to talk about. And I have a couple of emails, just a couple today, not a whole bunch like I often do. This first one's a good one, though. It comes from Garage Door Jeff, who I had the great joy in meeting when I was in Old Town Alexandria, just outside Washington, D.C., a few weeks ago. My wife and I had lunch with Jeff and his wife. Lovely folks. His wife's a little better than he is, but it was a fun occasion, and we had a nice talk, and it was good to finally meet him face to face. Still trying to get him on the show. He claims he's technically illiterate, so that's why he can't do it. And I explained, well, you probably could do it pretty easily. I'm not sure if it is that he doesn't want to come on or feels nervous about it, or it's truly technically related. But Jeff, I'll be happy to help you as much as I can with the technological part of it, and we'll get you on the show. Anyway, he has an email. It says, hi, Boomer. I love to get two birds stoned at once, so allow me to combine a shout out to a fellow frequent emailer with a needed purge. So here's to Z Man. There's another guy who should be on the show, Z Man. So here's to Z Man, who, let's be honest, was fucking all right a whole bunch of times. And going forward, he's right that Trump will take office and will not face legal or financial accountability. Well, at least in the foreseeable future, the Z Man was absolutely right. And I'm not afraid to say that I was absolutely wrong. I mean, that's just the way it goes. People say, you were wrong. Like, that's surprising. I'm an old man sitting in my fucking living room. I can only go by the facts I see and decide from that point. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Z Man was right a number of times. And I'm sad to say he was right because he had some gloom and doom to some of the things he's predicted. Unfortunately, Donald Trump is going to be the president, so that's enough gloom and doom to validate what Z Man was saying. Now, Garage Door Jeff goes on to say, and yes, the next 4 years will be a fucking nightmare. Let's put it this way: when you're counting on Mitch McConnell, that's another word for fucked. And while I'm on roll, let me give that orange piece of shit a little credit, and I've never loathed anyone more. But let's acknowledge that it took him less than a decade to co opt a whole big portion of a 200-year-old institution. Well, he had help too. The entire Republican Party got behind him. Had that not been the case, he wouldn't have been in this situation. Not to mention the DOJ, not to mention Merrick Garland, not to mention the Democrats. That felonious pile of malignant orange gel is the Earl Scruggs of corrupting everything around him. That being said, I'm strangely calm. I know I won't be able to absorb this daily expulsions, but I fully agree with you that the level of pushback against him will be tremendous. I also doubt he'll last in office 2 years. I do multiple cheeseburger bets on that. The opportunities for laughing at this hapless fucks will also be endless, and I have complete confidence in you, Boom, to cover that ground well. Well, you can plan on that. Best Garage Door Jeff and his always famous P.S. Boomer, you mentioned being involved in music in the 80s. I remember the 80s. May I ask you, did you ever ride the White Line Highway? Kiss the Snow Queen. Those are the only two I can think of. Ever run into cocaine? Man, that sure was a lot. There was a lot around back then. And right about here. Um, I was not into cocaine in the 80s. That isn't to say I didn't try it. I'm going to tell you a little story. I had this friend. He played college hockey. I grew up with him. We played sports together, and he played college hockey in Colorado. And so I was living in Arizona doing this radio gig, which was a pretty shitty radio gig. And I decided, fuck this. I'm leaving town. I'm done living in this Mormon town because I really didn't fit in too well. Most of northern Arizona was Mormon and Navajo Indian, and both wonderful people. They treated me very nicely, but as a white Lutheran kid from the Midwest, I didn't really fit in too well. So I got in my car and I was going to head home. And I had this friend living in Colorado Springs playing hockey. I called him up. I said, dude, I'm coming through. Do you mind if I sleep on your couch for a couple of days? He goes, oh, man, come on in. So I pull into Colorado Springs. Now, keep in mind, I'm thinking college dorm. I'm thinking old rickety house. I get there, and there's this fucking beautiful house facing the mountains. I go, this can't be it. So I knock on the door and I say, is my guy here? He goes, yeah, he's upstairs. Now you have to understand this friend of mine, he was a great athlete, but he was also a grifter. He was along the lines and probably had similar traits as Donald Trump. He was a good guy to me, but he was always hustling something, always trying to get some money. And this was pre Scarface. So when I saw this particular this particular scene in Scarface, it reminded me of this trip to Colorado because I walk up the steps, I go into his room, and there's my friend sitting at a desk, and he's not as big as Scarface, but he's got a pile of white powder. I'm pretty young at the time. Actually, he's got two piles of white powder. And I look at him, I go, dude, what the fuck is that? He goes, come over here, man. I'm gonna show you how to make some fucking money. I said, okay. I said, what's this pile of powder? He goes, that's cocaine. I go, are you fucking kidding me? You can get kicked off the team. You can go to jail. He said, just chill the fuck out. I said, is that cocaine over there too? He goes, no, that's the beauty of this shit. I go, what do you mean? That's baby laxative. I go, what are you going to do with baby laxative? He said, I'm going to take that baby laxative and give me double the amount of fucking cocaine. So he's cutting this cocaine, which was probably already cut 900 times before this kid got it, cutting it again and packaging it. Now, see, this guy was always thinking. He's got all these Hustler magazines sitting there. I go, wait, would you all of a sudden get involved in porn? What the fuck are you doing here? He goes, oh, that's the genius. This business is all about marketing. I go, what do you mean marketing? He said, here's what I do. You sell this cocaine in what they call folds. Usually it's a piece of paper. They fold it up so it's easy to carry, easy to hide, and you hand it to people. I go, okay, cool. He said, think of this. I'm selling this stuff that everybody fucking wants. Now, this is the early 80s, remember, early 80s. He says, I'm selling the things everybody wants. But instead of just putting it in paper, I'm putting it in paper covered with naked women. He goes, fucking genius, right? I go, I don't know. Is it genius? This kid made a lot of money doing this stuff, though. And so he was showing me how he's doing this. I go, maybe I shouldn't stay here a couple days. Maybe I should go today. I stayed a couple days and I got an experience as to the whole selling process of this. I wasn't involved in it. I kind of was away from it, but I watched what he was doing. The next night while I was there, they had a party in this house. A lot of hockey players, a lot of other athletes, but there were a lot of older people, like in their 40s, like alumni or college donors and stuff like that. And so um, I go, dude, I don't know anybody here. He goes, oh, just drink, have fun, just, talk to meet a couple girls, whatever the fuck you're going to do. I said, all right, that's cool. So I walked around, talked to a few people, told them who I knew. And then my friend comes up to me. He goes, look, man, I got to go in the back room. We're going to sell some shit. Me and this guy, we're going in the back room. He says, make sure make sure nobody comes back in this room. I said, what the fuck do you want me to do? You got these big guys, you got this. Uh, how am I supposed? I'll just tell them they can't come back. He goes, no, you got to keep them out of here. I go, I don't know anybody. What can I do to make people stay out of this room? He says, hold on a second. Hold on a second. So he grabs a chair in the middle of this party, steps on the chair, and he goes, let me have your attention. Let me have your attention. Now, I thought he was trying to be secretive about this, but this is exactly what he says. He says, I need your attention. He said, I'm going to the back room with whatever. We got to do a couple of things. My friend here, Mike from Minnesota, is going to be guarding that door. Now, do not give Mike trouble because he is a crazy motherfucker. He will probably murder you if you try to come at that door. I go, dude, what are you murdering anybody? So he goes back in the room. Okay. Um, and I'm standing there, watch. I become this fucking bouncer or guard now, watching the door, and nothing's going on at first. And then this young lady walks in and she says, Bob back there? I go, I don't know. Somebody's back there. I don't know if it's Bob. So I open the door. I go, dude, is Bob back there? She says, no, tell her to go away. I said, Bob's not back here. She goes, I'm sure he's back there. I go, I don't care. He's not back there. I didn't think I was going to have to fight this girl. She might have given it a good go. But anyway, so she walks away. I go, I got out of that one easy. And then this older couple comes up. They're about 40. Guy looks like he's got money. Turns out he owns one of the car dealerships in town. His wife's dressed up really nice. He goes, I got to see your guy. I go, yeah, he's busy. I can't let you back there. He goes, you know who I am? I go, I'm from Minnesota. I don't know who the fuck you are, nor do I care. He goes, I got to see him now. You know how much money I give this guy? I go, I don't fucking care. I'm just trying to get a fucking couch to get back to Minnesota. And so he starts getting a little heated with me. Now he's a shorter guy. I was 20 years old. I was in really good shape. At that point, I thought I could kick pretty much anybody's ass if I had to, which wasn't probably true, but I thought I did. And so he's standing there and he's getting riled up. He's starting to froth from the mouth. I said, dude, you need to fucking settle down. He'll be out when he's out. I'll let you know. And then he grabbed me by the collar. He goes, you don't understand, motherfucker. I need to see him right fucking now. So now I'm getting a little pissed off because I didn't do anything to cause him to get mad at me. I'm just telling him what my job is. Everybody knew what my job was. So when he grabbed my collar, I'm 20. I got a little more testosterone than I do have intellect. I grabbed him by the collar. I said, listen, motherfucker. I figured I'd play off my fake reputation here. I said, motherfucker, if you don't get your hands off me and get away from this fucking door, I'm going to do some horrific shit to you. I don't know where I came up with that. But anyway, I'm doing that, and he's just looking at me angry as hell. And his wife gets in between us, and she looks at me, begging me not to kill her husband. And I'm going, how the fuck did I get in this? I've been in some fights in my life, but I wasn't, a bully or looking for fights or anything. So I'm standing there, I'm going, Jesus Christ, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this. I don't care if he's selling cocaine in folds of Hustler magazine. I don't fucking care. And I told him that later on. But the funniest part of this is the girl comes up and asks for Bob again. I said, I told you, Bob's not back there. So after about 15 minutes, the door opens. My friend comes out, and the guy that's with him comes out. Turns out it was fucking Bob. This girl literally flies across the room with her fist in the air and hooks Bob right in the jaw. John goes down like a ton of fucking bricks, and she's pounding on him. So I went up to my friend's laughing. He's freaking out. He thinks he's high and he's drunk and he doesn't give a shit. So I go up to him. I go, dude, I'm going to leave tomorrow. I'm going to leave tomorrow because this is a little beyond my taste as far as social. And he goes, you got to stay around for a week. We got all kinds of. I go, no, I'm fucking leaving tomorrow. The faster I can get home with my mommy, the fucking better. I don't know why I went off on that tangent, but Garage door Jeff brought up cocaine. I did cocaine once when I was there, and it was probably cut so many times. I didn't notice anything, didn't think anything of it. After that experience, there was no point in me doing that again. The only thing I had an issue with down the road was drinking beer. I drank a lot of beer, and then I quit that 35 years ago and haven't done it since. So, no, I didn't do any. I did once cocaine and I didn't like it. Well, it's not that I didn't like it. It didn't do anything. It was a waste. I certainly wasn't going to spend money on it when I could take that good money and turn it into fucking beer. Anyhow, move along. I do have one other email. This one comes from Jeanette. She says, "Hi, Mike. I just want to know if you've heard of this before. I've heard something about something called smartelections.us. It's for people who are in Pennsylvania and can vote there. You can join in, get a recount there. Anyone else heard of it? It may be that some who are suspicious of one's vote have not been counted. Regards, Jeanette." I've heard of something like this, checking to see if your vote was counted and all that stuff. I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I will check into it, but I think anytime somebody sends you an extraneous fucking link, you might want to be wary of it. I mean, say you go to some website, the website says your vote wasn't counted. What are you going to do about it? I've heard tons of people on TikTok saying that their vote wasn't counted, but nobody said what they've done about it or if it's actually true. You never know who's running a fucking website. There may have been some funny things going on with this election, but I have yet to see any evidence of it. Until such time, I'm not going to believe that it is. I'm not going to be as stupid and as crazy and as conspiracy theorist as Trump-lefucks were in 2020. I will check it out, Jeanette. I'll see what the hell is up to the best of my ability, but I don't know much about it. So I'm recording this on a Saturday evening for Sunday. So if things happen between now and by the time you hear this, obviously it won't be on. Maybe I'll do an addendum or an extra or something if it's something big going on. But Saturdays and Sundays, usually it's pretty low key. All right. Now we heard about the story that Donald Trump talked on the phone with Mexican President Claudius Scheinbaum. You remember that whole story. That whole story said that Donald Trump, of course, says he's going to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada, 25%. That's going to cause some serious problems. I don't know how he's going to pull that off, frankly. He failed with tariffs last time, and he would fail again, and a lot of people would pay the price for it. But I've always said this is more a tactic by Donald Trump. He goes and makes crazy claims, makes crazy threats in hopes that somebody folds up and dies and they do his bidding. They do what he wants to do, and that's how he wins. There's really no substance behind Donald Trump. There's no studies or policy. He just says shit in order to try to get people to back down. Now, with Claudia Scheinbaum in Mexico, he didn't have much luck with that. She didn't back down. He gets her on the phone and comes back and says, "Oh, the call was great. She agreed to this. She agreed to that. All is going to be cool." He didn't say it in so many words, but basically he was going toward, so I don't have to put the tariffs on. She was so scared of me that she's just going to do everything I asked her. Unfortunately, after that came out, Claudia Scheinbaum came back with a response herself, says, yeah, none of that happened. Everything's pretty much the same. We had a nice conversation, but nothing was agreed upon. Nothing has changed. We're already keeping people from the border in large numbers. So I don't know what more we can do, but what Donald Trump said was a bunch of bullshit. I haven't heard Donald Trump respond to that. I think that's one of those things where Donald Trump will just act like it never happened and move on to something else. But everybody's worried about these tariffs. And I think these tariffs are just that, a threat Donald Trump is making to try to get people to bend. When it comes down to it, he may not understand it, but the Republicans around him understand the disaster it would be for the economy So I don't expect those tariffs to actually take place. And as I said in a previous podcast, you remember NAFTA, Donald Trump said it was shit. He changed it just a little bit, called it the USMCA. And in that agreement, this incredible agreement that he said he crafted, which he didn't, he in that document, it says very clearly that Canada, Mexico, and the US cannot put tariffs on one another. And if you did do that, that would be a federal crime. So I don't know that Donald Trump ever intended to do this. He likes to create the chaos and the fear, and he tries to get people to back down. Unfortunately, Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico did not back down. Now that leaves Canada. And Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau returned home Saturday after a surprise meeting with Donald Trump without assurances that President elect will back away from the threatened tariffs on all products from the major American trading partner. Trump called the talks productive, but signaled no retreat from a pledge that Canada says unfairly lumps it in with Mexico over the flow of drugs and migrants in the U.S. After the leaders hastily arranged dinner Friday night at Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Florida, Trudeau spoke of an excellent conversation and said in a post later Saturday on X, accompanied by a photo with the two men seated at a table and smiling, that he looked forward to the work we can do together again. Trump said earlier on Truth Social they discussed many important topics that will require both countries to work together to address. For issues in need of such cooperation, Trump cited fentanyl and the drug crisis that has decimated so many lives as a result of illegal immigration. Fair trade deals. They do not jeopardize American workers and U.S. trade deficit that its ally to the north. Trump asserted that the prime minister had made a commitment to work with us to the end and to end this terrible devastation of American families from fentanyl from China reaching the United States through its neighbors. The U.S., he said, will no longer sit idly by as our citizens become victims to the scourge of this drug epidemic. It is a drug epidemic, but the fact of the matter is fentanyl is, for the most part, not coming in through Canada or Mexico. It's just coming in legally in the front door of the United States. Donald Trump has threatened to impose a 25% tax on all products entering the U.S. from Canada and Mexico. I think this is a bluff. I think this is bluster. I think when it comes down to it, he'll get real busy with other things, and I don't think he'll really pull it off. Because if he does, it's disastrous not only to the country, but to his party. And the people around him, the Republicans, have to be saying, yeah, hold on a second. That's probably not a good idea. Now, U.S. Custom agents seized 43 pounds of fentanyl at the Canadian border last fiscal year, compared to 21,100 pounds at the Mexican border. On immigration, the U.S. Border Control made 56,530 arrests at the Mexican border in October alone, and 23,721 arrests at the Canadian border between October 23rd and September 24th. And Canadian officials say they are ready to make new investments in border security. Now, while most of the fentanyl isn't coming through those borders, there is some coming through. I'll grant you that. And if this causes Canada and Mexico to put money into stopping that from happening, that's great. The question is, what are they doing now? How is this stuff getting in? And how are we going to address where fentanyl is coming in through our own country? See, the thing about it is Donald Trump doesn't give fuck all about fentanyl. He doesn't care. He does some drugs of his own. Donald Trump gets these talking points from his evil buddies that surround him and say, talk about this, talk about that. He gets the bad information and he starts spewing it and he uses it as a talking point. He doesn't have any real thoughts or perceptions on his own. It's about what he thinks is going to be expeditious to him getting power and money. It could be fucking anything. It could be that somebody's bringing in mason jars illegally. And if that he thought he'd get some traction on that, he'd be fucking talking about it. The fentanyl problem is clearly a big problem. We've got a lot of problems with drugs in many ways. It's not just fentanyl, but fentanyl is killing people. So we need to address that. But throwing a tariff on these countries, saying it's your problem if you don't do this, we're going to leverage your ass and we're going to take all your money. Well, they aren't going to pay any money. The middleman sending it into this country will pay the money. But in return, Mexico and Canada will, of course, put tariffs on outgoing products to the United States. And what's important to understand is that America, the USA, does import a lot of shit from Canada and Mexico. We get a ton of oil from Canada. We get cars and we get auto parts from Mexico. And that's just the few top ones that we're talking about. It's all kinds of things. You like avocados? They come in from Mexico. Bananas come in from Mexico. There's a lot of shit that comes in from these places. It's one thing for us to put tariffs out there. We're acting as if our shit is the best shit, and we want you to have it, but we're going to try to limit what you're selling by putting tariffs on it. This isn't a thought out thing by Donald Trump. Donald Trump hasn't considered this strongly. He just takes the worst case situation, hypes it up, exaggerates it, and then he throws it out there. And all he's doing is hoping that people will cave in and say, yes, Donald, you're so powerful. We'll do it your way. This is how he's lived his whole life, from the time he was a child to the time he was in college to the time he was running his businesses. Now, to suggest that strategy doesn't work is pretty easily validated when you think he did it in business for the many years he was in business. How did it work? Well, he did file bankruptcy 6 times. Several of his companies failed. I can't find a single situation where he was successful in business. So it's a strategy that clearly doesn't work for him very well, but like a fucking idiot, he keeps doing it. He keeps pushing it. That's who Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is not a smart or serious man. I hate it when people say, well, he's doing this and he's doing that, like there's any kind of planning behind it. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Donald Trump is a very simple minded person. And I'm not saying that to be mean. It's something you can see by just watching him talk. Donald Trump doesn't think things out. He doesn't take advice from people unless he likes it, unless it's in line with something he believes. But if he doesn't believe it, you can give him all the advice in the world and he won't do fuck all about it. He just won't. He refuses. He's very emotional. He's reactionary. And then when something happens, he throws it out there. The one thing about narcissists, it's either the absolute worst he's ever seen or the absolute best he's ever seen. There's no gray area there. He's got to go to extremes to sell his point one way or another. And when that doesn't work, he ramps it up even farther to the point where it just is silly, absolutely fucking silly. But that's who Donald Trump is. He's a silly, unserious motherfucker that shouldn't be in business and certainly has no business being president of the motherfucking United States. So those of you that helped put him in that position, you're going to fuck around and find out too, because some shit is going to happen. I don't think as much shit as we possibly think. See, the problem is everybody listens to what Donald Trump and believes everything he says about what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. But here's the problem with that. Donald Trump is a pathological liar. Donald Trump doesn't come through with most things he threatens or promises. He never does because he's too busy. He's like he's got ADHD. He can't stay on one topic. He's doing one thing one moment, then he's off on another tangent. Then he's off on another tangent. And this is probably the one thing that will save America, his inability to finish a fucking project or to get support from people who know better. People keep talking about how terrible this is going to be, and it's not going to be good. I'll promise you that. But it's not going to be the end of the world. Donald Trump is not the king. Donald Trump will not be able to do everything he wants to do or says he wants to do. He won't even be able to do a small amount of it. It's still not going to be a pleasant 4 years if he lasts that long. But we as a country have gotten through tougher things than this. And we will get through this. And while it's been delayed again, Donald Trump's legacy will be horrible. And this will not end well for Donald Trump. Donald Trump is an idiot and he's a fool. Regardless if he's president of the United States or not, all you have to do is listen to him talk and you can see he's a dumb fuck. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's saying. He's just talking out his ass. And that's what he will continue to do as long as he's in the public eye. We all know about the situation with Matt Gaetz. Donald Trump nominated him to be Attorney General, and people went batshit crazy. See, Matt Gaetz has some skeletons in his closet. He's got little trouble here and there, drug trafficking, taking drugs, sex trafficking, having sex with underage women, and a whole host of other things. Matt Gaetz bolted out of Congress so that he could avoid getting the evidence revealed to the public, but some of it slipped out anyway. And as more and more came out, he decided he'd have to get the fuck out of Dodge so he can save himself a little bit of embarrassment. And he pulled out from the nomination, which would have been the wise thing to do. Now, I have a feeling much of this information is still going to come out, but enough of it has come out to realize that Matt Gaetz is a horrible piece of shit. Now, he's pulled out. He won't be the attorney general. That is good news. But there's one other guy that's got a similar background, and he has yet to pull back from his nomination. Donald Trump nominated Peter Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. It's a big fucking job. That has to do with the security of this country. That involves like 2 million, 2.5 million people under him. Now, who is this motherfucker? Well, he's on Fox News. He's not a full-time Fox News guy. He only works on the weekends. So all this guy could get was a part-time job on Fox News. That is also in addition to having spent some time in the military, but the rank that he achieved does not justify him being the Secretary of Defense. He doesn't know what he's doing. He wouldn't know how to run an organization that big. And the idea of putting him as the Secretary of Defense is absolutely fucking absurd. All that aside, there's also the similarity to Matt Gaetz. He's got some sexual misconduct issues. Yeah. He apparently sexually assaulted at least one woman, and they were going to go to court over this. Ended up that Peter Hegseth ended up paying her off, settling out of court so it wouldn't go to court. The mistake he's making, though, now says, well, I was totally exonerated. No, bitch, you weren't totally exonerated. You fucking did it. You know you did it. That's why you went into your pocket, gave her money to shut her mouth. If you were innocent, you would have taken to court, won the case, and cleared your name. So don't tell me it's raining when you're peeing on my leg, to quote Judge Judy. But this is what Republicans do. They will lie, they will gaslight, and hope against hope that people will believe it. And the unfortunate thing is there is a pretty sizable amount of people that are dumb enough to fucking believe anything. So Pete hasn't pulled out of this nomination. He thinks he still has a fucking chance. He still thinks there's some gray areas where he can slip himself in there. Well, something yesterday happened that would say otherwise. This may be the clincher, the thing that gets Pete Hegseth out of this position. But maybe not. He's a narcissistic fuck too. He may think he still has a chance. But yesterday, Penelope Hegseth, mother of former Fox News host Pete Hegseth, wrote a heated email calling him an abuser of women in the midst of his 2018 divorce proceedings, according to the New York Times. This isn't an old girlfriend. This isn't a childhood friend. This is his motherfucking mommy that says he is an abuser of women. This is a revelation that comes as Hegseth gears up for the confirmation hearings to become President-elect Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense. The Times says Penelope Hegseth copied Samantha Hegseth, Pete's second wife, on a message at the time it was sent. The outlet received a copy from another person with ties to the family. In the message, Penelope Hegseth wrote that she had to speak up after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today. You are an abuser of women. That is the ugly truth, and I have no respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. This is what mommy wrote. You are that man, and you have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad fucking truth. Around 400 words of the message were published in the Times, with one sentence redacted for privacy reasons. Penelope Hegseth told the Times that she quickly regretted the email and sent a follow up to apologize to her son. She told the paper that publishing the email was disgusting, a sentiment that was echoed by Trump's communication director, Stephen Chung, who called it despicable. Here's the thing about that. They do this with leakers too. Oh, that leaker's despicable. Or the fact that that email was sent out, that is despicable. What about the fucking act that caused them to write the email or leak this information? They completely go by the things that caused the leak or the fact that this goofy motherfucker is abusing women. It was despicable that she released that email. It was despicable that they revealed some secret, dark truths that we should know about if you're going to work for us in our government. Have you ever seen Stephen Chung? He's a goofy looking motherfucker his own right. Pete Hegseth has been married 3 times and has fielded numerous accusations of infidelity. He and Samantha share 3 sons between them. He married a Fox News colleague, Jennifer Roche, in 2019 after she had a child by him in 2017. For you to try to label Samantha as unstable for your own advantage is despicable and abusive. Is there any sense of decency left in you? Hegseth's mother asked in 2018. I don't want to debate with you. You twist and abuse everything I say anyway, but on behalf of all women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way. I say get some help and take an honest look at yourself. Pete Hegseth's nomination this month, despite his lack of senior military leadership. He served in the Army National Guard in the rank of major, shocked Washington when he was nominated, and a 2017 sexual assault allegation revealed in the lead up to his confirmation hearings may cast further doubt for fitness in this office. Now, remember, this assault was kind of egregious too. A woman told police that she believed Hegseth drugged and raped her at a Republican women's conference in Monterey, California, although no charges were ever filed, and he denies that the sexual encounter was non-consensual. Although Hegseth paid the woman a settlement to keep quiet about the allegation out of fear for his Fox News gig, his lawyers said. That's what you do. Somebody falsely claims you drugged and raped them. You just pay them off to keep it on the DL. Fucking right. After Trump said he wanted Hegseth to lead the entire U.S. military, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall spoke up to criticize her colleague's history of alleged misconduct, noting that infidelity is a crime under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Yeah, interesting, ain't it? You can't lead an entire organization and all these people if you can't lead by example, Marshall said. Now, Pete Hegseth is an absolute steaming pile of fucking shit. He's not a good guy, which is right in line with the type of guy that Donald Trump thinks could lead a big organization like the U.S. Department of Defense. This guy's not going to get in. He's just not going to get in. It's just not possible. He's got too much working against him. But that's the thing I was getting at here. Even Matt Gaetz said, all right, fuck, enough's enough. I'm not getting in. I'm not going to embarrass myself any further. And he bolted. But not Pete Hegseth. Pete Hegseth's mommy's saying you're a piece of shit. And that's not enough. That's not enough for him to step aside. I kind of hope he doesn't at this point. Because what Matt Gaetz saved himself from is the hearing, the questioning of the members of Congress. Pete Hegseth wants to play that fucking game. Go ahead, sit down in Congress and start answering some questions. He doesn't seem like the sharpest guy in the world, so he may not be able to divert, distract, and delay like some of his counterparts, but he's going to look bad. I suspect he'll pull out eventually, or Donald Trump will say, yeah, enough is enough. You're worse than me, motherfucker, and that's bad. So Pete Hegseth is another one that I'm surprised hasn't pulled out already, but he should be doing that soon, if not forced out at some point by the likes of Donald Trump or Donald Trump's staff. And the thing about it is, every time Donald Trump makes a goofy fucking nomination, you think, how much worse can it get than that? Well, I'll be honest with you, Pete Hegseth and Matt Gaetz are probably the worst. But I got another bad one for you. Yeah, he did another one just yesterday. Saturday, he did this. Now, of course, you remember who Jared Kushner is, right? Jared Kushner is Donald Trump's slimy son-in-law. He's married to Ivanka. Remember, Ivanka and Jared were senior advisors in the White House when Donald Trump was president, even though they don't know fuck all about fuck all. It was so bad with Jared Kushner that when they tried to get him security clearance, he couldn't pass. So what does Donald Trump do? Daddy-in-law Donnie do? He says, that's okay. I'll vouch for him. Just let him go anyway. So there's Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump working in the White House, and they can't even get security clearance. I could probably get security clearance, but these two fucks can't. And they were there anyway. Now, we went through the presidency. They did their bullshit. They grifted their grift. And then when it was all over, January 20th, 2021, Jared Kushner thought, I got to do something now. I got to get a motherfucking job. I'm off daddy-in-law's gravy train. So he did what every young man wants, or every young man would do when he's looking for a job. He called up the Saudi prince and said, dude, give me $2 billion. I'll manage the fuck out of that. And you can pay me 25, 30, $40 million a year to do that. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Well, it went around all the upper echelon in Saudi Arabia. And they go, no, that's a fucking dumb idea. But the Saudi prince said, that's my boy. That's my boy. Give him the $2 billion. And he got the $2 billion and 25 or $30 million a year to manage it for fucking nothing. This guy isn't even a money manager. He didn't even have any experience in it. So now I've told you all the shit about Jared Kushner. But in this segment, we're going to talk about his daddy, Jared's daddy, not his daddy-in-law, his actual daddy. President-elect Donald Trump announced Saturday that he intends to nominate Charles Kushner, his son-in-law Jared Kushner's billionaire father, to be the next U.S. ambassador to France. I'm sorry. But here's the thing you got to understand about Jared Kushner's dad. He's a bigger piece of shit than Donald Trump or Jared Kushner. This motherfucker was a lawyer and a real estate developer. He made a lot of money, but in 2005, he hit some rough spots. He was convicted federally of a number of crimes: witness tampering, tax evasion, campaign finance laws. Yeah, he was a fucking dipshit, and he was a criminal. And so he was sentenced to 2 years in federal prison, of which he spent 14 months. So Jared's dad, the new nominee to be the ambassador of France, is not only a convicted felon like his boss, Donnie Trump, but he's also spent time in fucking jail. Here's the other thing you got to remember. When he got out, he was making a lot of money again, doing the grift like he's always doing the motherfucking grift. He made a lot of money. You know what he did with that money? A lot of that money went to donations to Donald Trump in his campaign. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, that's why he's going to be made ambassador. And you're probably right about that. But there was one other part in this whole process with Jared Kushner's daddy and his crimes and all this stuff that Donald Trump also did. He also pardoned the motherfucker in his last term. Do you remember that? He pardoned Jared Kushner's dad, who is a convicted criminal who spent time in federal prison. He pardoned him. He did it. He was guilty. And in taking a pardon, he had to admit he was guilty, but he got out of jail, got out of the binds of being a ex-felon. He donates a bunch of money to Donald Trump and he says, "You did a good job, Charlie. You did a good job. I pardoned you. And that was a good thing for me to do. But you know what? I'm going to give you a cake motherfucking job. I'm going to make you ambassador of France." See, this is the type of people Donald Trump deals with. This Charles, um, this Charles Kushner is no different than Donald Trump. He has a lot of money. He's probably a narcissist. He's a pathological liar, and he's a convicted felon. They have a lot in common. They're basically the same motherfucking guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if they arranged the marriage between Ivanka and Jared, because Jared's this wimpy, skinny little guy, and Ivanka, back in the day, she was kind of hot. She probably had better boyfriends than Jared Kushner, but Jared Kushner has a criminal dad who's a billionaire, and she always liked daddy, so might as well stay in the realm that she's used to. Um, Now, Kushner said this, or Donald Trump said this about Kushner. He said he's a tremendous business leader, philanthropist, and deal maker who will be a strong advocate representing our country and its interest. Trump wrote on his Truth Social. Well, of course he will be. He's an absolute criminal, the perfect guy to represent Donald Trump. He was saying Kushner would help strengthen America's partnership with France, our oldest ally and one of our greatest. Trump noted Kushner's 1999 New Jersey Entrepreneur of the Year title from the company Ernst & Young, along with other accomplishments that predated his legal downfall. Trump did not mention that Kushner donated $1 million in support of his successful 2024 White House bid. Following his conviction, Kushner, who had been a lawyer, was disbarred in 3 states, New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania. The charges revolve around tax evasion, illegal campaign finance contribution, and retaliations against witnesses. Congratulations to Charlie, his wonderful wife, Searle, their 4 children and 14 grandchildren, Trump wrote. His son, Jared, worked closely with me in the White House, in particular on Operation Warp Speed, criminal justice reform, and the Abraham Accords. Jared Kushner, of course, married Trump's elder daughter, Ivanka Trump, in 2009, while the pair held key advisory positions in the first Trump administration. And they loved it so much when dad got to be president again. And hey, guys, you want to come back? Fuck no. They want no part of that. They saw what happened to him the first time, and they don't want to get caught up any more than they already have been. Now, according to Forbes, the Kushner family is worth an estimated $7 billion, with real estate holdings that include Kushner companies, properties, and those held by individual family members. You see who Donnie's picking? He's picking criminals, the criminal picking criminals. That's who's going to be running this country, going to be representatives to the international world of this country. It's fucking appalling. I mean, it's like they're fucking up the neighborhood, The neighborhood was all right. We had a few problems here and there. This just sends us down the shitter. Just fucking absolutely sends us down the fucking shitter. Now, here's something I've been saying, and some people have kind of got on me about this. You shouldn't be talking about that. And the thing is, I'm just making an observation. I'm not offering up any wishes or hopes or dreams or anything. But Vladimir Putin said it. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Thursday said he expects Donald Trump will find a solution on the Ukraine war, adding that he hopes the U.S. president-elect recognizes he is not safe. Yeah, he knows Donald Trump will come up with a solution to the Ukraine war. That means Ukraine giving up some or all of his land. And that's where the peace is going to come from. Unfortunately, Zelensky is not going to buy into that, so he'll probably give Putin more weapons and they'll overrun Ukraine, which is the thing that we're most fearful of, because once they go through Ukraine, then they're going to be looking at Poland. And now we're looking at NATO nations. And those NATO nations will have to come together. And then we got this big old motherfucking war just because Donnie Trump's a dumb fuck. Now, speaking to reporters in Kazakhstan following a security summit, Putin said President Joe Biden's decision to allow Ukraine to use supplied long range missiles to strike deeper inside Russia could perhaps be part of an effort by Biden to create challenges for the incoming Trump administration. In either case, Putin said Trump is an intelligent and already quite experienced person, according to CNN. I think he'll find a solution. That motherfucker can't find his own ass with both hands. How is he going to find a solution? Unless you got a golf course he can go sit on and a stock load of fucking diapers, he ain't going to be doing anything. He's got some other ruthless, evil motherfuckers around him that may try, but they're all fucking incompetent. If you think Donald Trump is going to come up with a solution to anything, you're fucking kidding yourself. And frankly, Putin is just the puppet master with Donald Trump. He's Donald Trump's BFF, and he does whatever Putin says. Now, Trump has refused to answer whether it would be in the best interest of the U.S. for Ukraine to defeat Russia. He said he could strike a deal between both sides in the conflict within 24 hours, but has not explained what a potential agreement would entail. Well, he's probably got a concept of a plan. He actually said he could end the war 24 hours after being elected, not after being inaugurated. And we're 4 weeks out from that, 3.5 weeks out from that. Donald Trump doesn't do anything. He talks a lot. And that's the interesting thing to me, why people continue to believe him when he continually fails to back up the shit he says. He constantly lies. He constantly fails. And there still is a faction of people, some dumb fucks, that believe everything he says. And you know what? There's some Democrats out there that believe it too. Every time he makes a threat or a claim or a rant or a rave, people go, oh my goodness, clutch my pearls. This is going to happen because Donald Trump said it. As I told you earlier in the show, this motherfucker says a lot. He rarely comes through with most anything that he fucking suggests. So just settle down. Watch when he gets to be president. It'll become convoluted, a mess, chaos, and it's impossible to get anything done when you're in a chaotic state. Now, during his remarks, Putin also referred to what he described as uncivilized methods deployed against Trump during the campaign, citing the attempts on his life. Yeah, motherfucker, it was 2 Republicans that did it. Don't blame the Democrats for that. By the way, in my opinion, he is not safe now, Putin said. Unfortunately, in the history of the United States, various incidents have happened. I think he's intelligent. No, he's not intelligent. And I hope he's cautious and understands this, Putin added. In July, a gunman targeted Trump. He was a Republican. We know who made these attempts. And I've said this before. Donald Trump was valuable to the Republican Party when it came to getting elected president and helping to get control of the House and the Senate. But the moment that happened, the moment he takes the Oval Office, he becomes a liability because there's nothing more he can do to help them. Only thing he can do is probably hurt them with the crazy shit he says and does, the embarrassment he causes. He's a liability to the Republican Party. And I think Vladimir Putin's right. His safety might be at risk, but it isn't from the Democrats. It's from the Republicans who don't need him anymore. I hope I'm wrong about this. We don't need that kind of drama in this country. We got enough drama already. But Republicans are an unsavory fucking group. I think we all know that. And because they're unsavory, they'll try many ways to get them out of there. And I'm convinced that's what they'll do. They may try the 25th Amendment, but that's kind of hard to do. If it gets bad enough and he's doing some horrible things, would not be surprised that the Republicans themselves said, we're going to impeach this motherfucker, or at least make that as a threat. But if not that, we've seen the Republican Party do some egregious stuff. They tried to overthrow our government by attacking the Capitol. So the idea that if Donald Trump isn't liked anymore by the Republican Party, that they might do something dramatic, it's It wouldn't surprise me in the least. Not in the fucking least. Donald Trump safety is probably at risk. But that's only fair because all of our safety is at risk too because of the behavior of Donald Trump. I get a lot of people still very worried. And, we've got some things to worry about, but we can't just sit and toil and clutch our pearls and worry all the time and be weepy and, oh my God, it's over. It's over. We can't do that. We've got to stand up. We've got to push back. We've got to fight. Now, I wasn't expecting that I'd have to be doing the things I'm doing now after November 5th. I truly thought that Kamala Harris would win. And for all intents and purposes, every bit of fact and data would suggest that she was going to win and win easily. And I wasn't the only one that said that. Now, I'm not trying to disregard me being wrong because I'm wrong frequently, as my wife points out. But it made no logical sense for what happened. Some people might say that it was some conspiracy theory where Elon Musk stole the votes and stuff like that. I'm not saying that couldn't happen, but I'm not jumping on board that. I don't have any evidence of that. I'm not going to be a dumb fuck like the Republicans were in 2020. And let's be honest, we're getting closer and closer to the inauguration. We have yet to see any evidence of it. I think that will just fade away and everybody will say, well, guess not. I don't even want to fuck with that stuff. We've got a real problem at hand. And the more we pay attention to the noise and the bullshit that Donald Trump creates and the bullshit of a conspiracy theory brought to us by the Democrats takes our eye off the ball. And when we take our eye off the ball, that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. He wants to slip one in there when we're not looking. He's done it before. He will do it again. This is a time when we have to be on our fucking toes. We have to be focused. We've got to call him out for everything he does. We've got to do what we can to protect the marginalized folks and protect this country. It's going to be a difficult job. It's going to be a very difficult job. But you know what? I know we can do it. We got 4 years of Donald Trump. We dealt with another 4 years with Biden while Donald Trump is trying to fuck with things. He wasn't held accountable. Nothing happened. There's a lot of people to blame, especially our own DOJ and Merrick Garland. But we went through all that shit. We went through some crazy shit. And we might have some more crazy shit. I was hoping it would be over, but it's not. So let's not cry about it. Let's say, okay, what's next? What do we do next? How do we handle this situation? And I think people have a good idea of the things we can do. Congress isn't uh, so much in the power of the Republicans that they can really do much. There's a very, very slim margin in the House, much slimmer than we have this term. And with that slim margin, it's going to be virtually impossible for them to pass anything unless the Democrats want to help. And the only way the Democrats are going to help is if they do something that's decent as opposed to something that's fucked up. As I've said before, the Senate, they've got a 3-seat lead, which is, troublesome in its own right. But again, that thing we hate the most, the filibuster, is still in effect. And the Democrats can do exactly what the Republicans did with regards to the filibuster and just jam everything up. The real downside to this isn't whether or not Donald Trump will get some things through. He's going to be hard pressed to do that. The real problem is for the last 2 years, we got nothing done because the House was a joke. The Republicans don't do anything. I thought after those 2 years, we can get back on the stick and start doing some things and take care of the problems in this country. But fuck no, we can't have anything nice. You motherfuckers elected Donald Trump. And when I say you motherfuckers, I'm talking about the 48% that are just stupid as shit. So Donald Trump is in. And I think one of the worst things we're going to have to deal with, there's a lot of things that need to be addressed and they won't be addressed or they'll be canceled or something like that. The one chance we thought that we might be able to make some progress and improve things in this country with Kamala Harris being president is not going to happen. And since it's not going to happen, Donald Trump's going to be there and trying to wreck everything. The Republicans will be pushing back because they got to get reelected in the midterms and they don't want Donald Trump to fuck things up. Who knows? Maybe they push him out. Maybe they get him out of there some other way. I think Donald Trump is lucky if he makes it to the midterms, if he makes it 2 years, but It's kind of like a motherfucking cockroach. No matter what you do, you can't kill them. So maybe I'm wrong about that. The biggest problem is that in the next 4 years, if Donald Trump is the president and the Republicans maintain any control in Congress, nothing will be done. Nothing will be addressed. We'll be in fucking limbo. And we've been in limbo long enough. I'm fucking tired of the bullshit. I'm tired of the limbo. We all pay our fair share in taxes. We pay a lot of money. And it isn't too much to ask for a little something in return for the money we send. That's the funny thing about the Republicans. You've got the rich people that don't pay taxes, so we give them more tax breaks. And we steal it from the middle class who pays all the taxes. It's inequitable, to be sure. And it's been inequitable pretty much since Ronald Reagan. I was hoping against hope with Kamala Harris that we'd get some, at least some traction to go back the other way, but that's not going to happen with Donald Trump. People are worried about tragic things happening, big dramatic things happening. And I guess they could. But we should also be concerned by the fact that nothing will happen. Nothing good will happen for this country. Nothing good will happen for the middle class. And we'll be sitting there with our thumbs up our ass for the next 4 years. I hope against hope that's not the case. But we've got to prepare for that likelihood. And we've got to be ready to fight, ready to push back and do whatever we can. People will say, I'm just tired of the chaos. Well, now's not the time to be tired, motherfucker. We got to get out of the chaos before you can rest. So we're not resting. We're continuing to fight, as we always do. All right. We're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day. I hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.